TPUSA had requested, they got the largest venue on campus, and the university accommodated them with that. It seated about 2,000 people. And what happened, and we saw what happened in Georgia last week. And by the way, today, the leader of Turning Point USA, Georgia, I believe, resigned as a result of what's going on there. So we got to go look that up. But basically, the attendance they thought was going to be very high. And for whatever reason, and we don't know, but in the middle of the day, Turning Point started saying they were not going to have any media at the event. They blamed that on Baylor University, but Baylor University issued a statement. They were not banning media from the event. And in fact, the alternative student event had whatever media, you just get credentialed and you go in. So it was business as usual on campus yesterday, but Turning Point, tried to cancel the media and ban the media and then wanted to blame it on someone else. And what we understand is that they had about 400 people attend. There were empty seats throughout the auditorium. They had curtained off the auditorium. The alternative event, we don't have a precise count because there were some issues with the scanner, but the room itself, they got a room that seated about 500 people at capacity. That was the room that was available because Turning Point, of course, had this big auditorium and got first preference because they requested first, and the event was standing room only. So we're really proud of the students, but also of, I think, just showing a different vision that, people don't need to come around and they don't have to come around to build hate, that you can really come around to build love and do something pretty revolutionary. So it was a great.
And there does seem to be a battle for the youth of the nation right now. In particular, this holy war that the administration seems to want to push. What was the vibe like from the students? Because Baylor's traditionally a very, very, very Christian school.
Well, and that's really the vibe, was to say, we may all share a Christian faith. And this is what you'll see this in the reporting. But Christianity does not mean hating people. It doesn't mean targeting immigrants. It doesn't mean marking a group of people as ungodly because of who they are. And so Kelly Robinson, the president of HRC, she is a Black queer woman leading HRC, is a Catholic and still, identifies as Christian. Paul Rauschenbusch, the head of the Interfaith Alliance, is an American Baptist minister, an outwardly gay man who's married to, his husband and has 2 kids in New York City. And they spoke about their faith. And then one of the ministers that was in Minneapolis talked about the importance of loving our neighbor and showing up for people. And so you'll see a lot of coverage on it, but we're so proud of the students.
I love that. Was there curiosity on the part of the students who maybe were pro Turning Point and they're going, oh, okay, maybe this, were you seeing any of that? Because I would just love to believe that minds were changed yesterday.
Well, I don't know if minds were changed, but the bottom line is because the issue is that Turning Point claims more minds than they actually have. And so I'm very proud of these students, but this was organic. This pushback was organic. The student paper at Baylor University, before alumni even knew about it, came out and said, we have a real problem that Turning Point's coming to our campus. That's what's happening in communities across the country. Now, I'm not going to minimize some of that far right extremism that we do see, and that we do see definitely the White House, groups like Turning Point trying to make a play for the youth and for young people. I'm not minimizing that, but the bottom line is that movement, that Turning Point movement, this far right movement, it wants you to believe that it has more power than it does.